Hi everyone, I am Tasha Killian and I work for USU Extension. I have the privilege today of introducing our 2020 keynote speaker. And as a former graduate student mentored by Dr. Schramm, a current colleague with the privilege of working with him, I can tell you this will be an experience to remember. Known as Dr. Dave on campus and across the country, Dave Schramm is an associate professor and family life extension specialist at Utah State University in the Department of Human Development and Family Studies. After graduating with his PhD from Auburn University, he worked as a professor at the University of Missouri for 9 years. Since arriving at USU in 2016, he has been appointed by Governor Herbert to serve on Utah's Commission on Marriage. He appears on television monthly on Fox 13's The Place, and he shares tips and videos on social media to help individuals, parents, and couples thrive in their life journeys. From British Columbia to Beijing, China, and from St. Louis to San Diego, Dr. Dave has given over 500 presentations, classes, and workshops to a variety of audiences, including the United Nations and a TEDx talk in Florida. Dr. Dave is married to his high school sweetheart, Jamie, and together they have 4 children. He loves peanut M&Ms, and currently the Schramm fam lives in North Logan, Utah. Now, in the best virtual way you know how, please help me welcome Dr. Dave Schramm.
Hey, thanks so much, Tasha. Now, it shows that I'm sharing, but I'm seeing the Zoom screen. So someone let me know, can you see my yellow screen or is it the Zoom screen? Let's see.
You're good.
Okay, you can see it? Awesome. Well, man, I really am. I'm super excited. On behalf of Utah, we're bummed that we can't be there, that you're not in Snowbird to be with us and enjoy just beautiful Utah. So put it on your bucket list because you've got to be able to come and experience everything Utah. It's just an amazing place. If you've been here, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm thrilled today to talk about some happy hacks. Now, some of you are thinking, Dr. Dave, right? This is such a crazy time, and with all the stuff that's going on around the nation, why should we be talking about happiness? And I say, oh my goodness, there's, I think, not a more important time to talk about happiness and positivity. And so I'm excited to share some science-backed happy hacks, some things that will increase positivity and productivity at work. And as I'll show, this spills over into our family lives, the way that we parent our children, the way that we work, we go about our days. So of course now, it wouldn't be quite the same without, you can see already that this cover slide is not appropriate. So I'm going to make it COVID appropriate real quick there. So you're right, we've got to get our mask up. Now you see that the picture up there, the Schramm dog. You'll notice that right off the bat that I'm not the typical professor. I like to do things a little bit different. I like to be different and engaging. And so this was a Zoom that we had with some educators across the state. And I thought, you know, Zoom, we gotta change this up. So we had a dress up Zoom and everybody dress up, and it was a lot of fun. So I like to change things up. And you'll see that, I'm sure, as we get going. So first off, here's the principle. People like happy people, right? Can I get an amen? People like to be around positive, happy people. So as soon as the COVID hit, and it was like, all right, we got to get your mask. There was no doubt in extension, creativity, that I had to get on Etsy and go crazy and buy some funny masks. Now, how important is this? It's super important because now when I present, you bet, I put on my masks, right? Here's my little mask that I put on, and I present in these because I have to change things up. In this downtime, there's so much down, and our brains are wired for negativity. I choose to be happy and I choose to be positive. So here's the little Schramm fam. This is, right, wouldn't be National Extension Family and Consumer Sciences without showing the Schramm fam. Now the Schramm fam, we're back in school here in Utah. We are lucky enough to have 5 days a week. For now, we're back 5 days a week face-to-face. And so, yeah, no kind of hybrid or anything. So we feel really lucky, very blessed here in Utah. But that was a really long summer break, like 5 months. So was anybody as excited as I was when they went back to school. Yeah, this is an actual picture. This is the first day of school. Some parents were crying and hugging, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm going to miss you. And I was like, oh man, 3 teenage daughters, right? Just go back to school. I love my kids. I love my family. Don't get me wrong, right? I love them. But yeah, it was just a little much. And so I was pretty excited to enjoy your time, and I'll enjoy my time. So I'm still working from home. You can see the background here in the office where I'm at. But let's talk about 2020. It's been a lot, right? This has been pretty crazy. It's been pretty wild. So much has happened. I love these memes that you've seen. January 1st, we're like, yeah, we're gung ho, Matthew McConaughey. And then you look June 9th, he's like, oh my gosh, what has happened to 2020? So there's a lot that has been going on around the country and around the world in this tumultuous year. So why Dr. Day? Why the happiness? Well, this is interesting. Take a look at this one, coronavirus track. So it shows that America's the unhappiest it's been in the last 50 years. So what has it done to happiness? It's really tanked it, and for good reason in many ways, right? People are losing jobs and awful things that are happening around the country. And so no wonder. Now you take a look at Twitter. Now maybe Twitter isn't the most reliable, valid poll out there, but you take a look at this hedometer. It's a tool that measures happiness on Twitter. And you look, and that was the saddest day in the history of Twitter, they say, right after George Floyd's killing. And so we have all this that's going on that's really bringing people down. And so I thought, man, I'm going to tweak this presentation because I really think that there's a lot that we can focus on the good and the positive. And so I'm an optimist that chooses to look at the good side as well as manage the difficulties and the struggles that come. So I talk about happy hacks. So what's a happy hack? A hack is a creative solution to a problem or to a challenge. And so I thought I would put up a few of these. Maybe you can relate to some of these. I thought these were pretty genius. If you have twins, anyone have twins out there? This is the hack to do. Just carve it in their hair, right? Twin number 1, twin number 2. What about this one? Toilet paper shortage? Was that crazy or what? You go into the stores, it was wiped out. And so some of you probably did this, right? 3 squares, kids, right? We got to save this stuff. This one is, this is called Lazy Hack. Looks like a dad, and he's out there, and it's in the hot summer, probably in the South somewhere. So I was 3 years at Auburn University, 9 years in Missouri. By the way, shout out to my Missouri peeps extension. I was there 9 years and loved every second of it. But this one's a little, right? That's a little creative hack solution. Okay, I love this one. So if you have triplets, I don't know, or if you're carpooling and the kids are fighting, they're arguing with each other, just put up the cardboard between them. What a wonderful hack, right? Isn't that ingenious? Okay, this one's a little bit creepy. And this has actually gone wild. So you just put a little beanbag filled glove on the child's back, and then you can just walk away. And they apparently they like that. So it comes in all kinds of varieties and positions. And so it's just parent walk away, right? Just put it on there and you don't even have to touch your child anymore. Interesting hack. Oh, this one. How many of you have been stuck at the store with your child? Oh, I want to ride that. I want to ride that. Just pull out a sign and slap on there. Out of order. Brilliant, right? Brilliant. This is perhaps my favorite. So this is the last one. This is one of my favorites. How many of you have your candy stash? Man, my kids find it all the time. Brilliant. Who's going to eat edamame? What child is going to look in the freezer for edamame? So open it up, put your stash in there. Boom. Brilliant, right? I love it. So this what I'm talking about is happiness and happy hacks. But let's talk for a minute about the types of happiness. So Martin Seligman, kind of the father of positive psychology, he talks about 3 types of happiness. So what we're not talking about today is really the pleasant life. Now, this is an important part, but this is the Snickers bar or my Diet Dr. Pepper that I have sitting right here. That's going out for a movie, going out to eat, bungee jumping, whatever. That's kind of the thrill. So that's more of this, a pleasure. It's more of the adrenaline. It's more of the good times. Now, that's an important part of happiness. But I'm going to talk more about the good life and the meaningful life, which is coming up next. Now, the good life is about assessing our strengths and finding flow. Flow is that activity where you immerse yourself in it, you use your strengths, so you almost lose track of time, almost like an amazing Zoom conference, right? Where you just immerse yourself and you lose track of time. The meaningful life is about contributing to something higher. a higher contribution. Now, it could be a political cause, it could be a religious, volunteering your time, but that's a different type of happiness. That's tied to meaning, and that's meaning is different than just the pleasure of the roller coaster. So the Greeks, I like the Greek definition. The Greek definition is the joy we feel moving toward our potential. I love that definition of happiness, and that's really the one that I'll be using. So it's more joy and meaning and lasting happiness. So why are we talking about happiness? Now, the research in the neuroscience on this is pretty amazing. So that the effect of happiness on the brain is just blows me away. So we are 3 times more creative, energy and intelligence rises. We're about 31% more productive. How many of you would love to be 31% more productive? Count me in. So that's what happens when we tune our brains to positivity and happiness, is we get this flood and it spills over into our brains. And the opposite also happens when stress and negativity narrows and positivity opens and broadens, as Barbara Fredrickson has talked about in her book, Positivity. So at work, what does it do? When we're positive and we're happy at work, we know this from being at work, right? We work in extension, we get awesome jobs where we go in there and it spills over into other areas of our lives. And the research backs this up. That happiness leads to a 12% spike in productivity. Being unhappy and grumpy and ornery leads to 10% less productivity. So the science really is showing that positive emotions, that's where we actually need to start, is positive emotions. In any of the education that we're talking about, when we're engaging the audience, when we're positive, when we're happy, and we're like all over the place, when we're wearing funky masks upside down, that's where it starts. And we're so much more productive when our brains are positive. So I actually had the opportunity in 2020, before the craziness hit the fan, I had the opportunity to go and give a TED Talk. So it was in Florida in January. And I talked about what makes for the best workplaces in the entire United States. And so I did some research with Inc.com on the top workplaces. And then I looked at the top workplaces and I said, all right, what makes it a top workplace? And I analyzed each of these workplaces and I came up with, oh my goodness, it's family. In fact, they use the word family. And so the research is showing that the very best places to work treat their employees like family. In fact, billboards, was it Olive Garden? When you're here, you're family. In fact, I heard it earlier, was it Roxy who said, we consider our association as a family. And we use that word because family is what matters most to most people. So employees will gladly give their very best on the job when they're treated like family. In fact, I have a niece who recently left a job. Why? Not because she loved the people she worked with. She loved what she did. She left a boss, not a job, because of how she was treated. So this whole concept of treating each other and being positive at work and having employers and bosses who are positive and happy people, it spills over into the organization. So let me share, I have adapted this from the Arbinger Institute. So up at the top is correction. Now, when we're talking about workplace environment, whether we're talking about our home, many of you are parents at home, a lot of the questions that I get as a parent educator, family life educator is, Dr. Dave, what do I do when things go wrong? What do I do when my teenager sneaks out or won't turn on their phone or my toddler is biting? And so much is focused on correction. Now that's an important part of this pyramid. But underneath correction is teaching. The better job we do of teaching, the less correction is needed. And when it is needed, it'll be a natural extension of our teaching. So teaching and then correction. And underneath teaching is, and it took me a while as a parent to learn this, my children won't listen to me unless they like me, unless I have a relationship with them. And so that's it. Whether it's a parent-child relationship, whether it's a teacher relationship, whether it's a boss and coworker or a professor and a student or whoever you're working with, when that relationship is solid and strong, it spills over and they're more open to your teaching and correction. So what's underneath that? If this applies, a couple relationship, a marriage relationship, for single parents, that wouldn't apply, but even the co-parenting relationship, I would argue in some cases, if that's not going well, then it spills over into the parent or into the child relationship. What's underneath that, and that's what I'm talking about today, It's a positive, happy, flourishing person. That's what it's about. So that's the foundation of all that we do. In fact, all the teaching that you ever do, it starts right there. And you know what I'm talking about. You're teaching something, and let's see, you've had a bad day and you're really struggling. It spills over, doesn't it, into the other areas of the pyramid. So I like to talk about it this way. It's connection, then direction, then correction, in that order. And if we get those things out of order, you can correct. But if that person, right, you don't have a relationship with them, the moment you walk away, they're going to roll their eyes, they're going to elbow the person next to them like, oh, they're such an idiot, because the connection is not there. So it's connection, direction, correction. But at the bottom of this, it's flourishing, positive, happy person. So let's start with the 3 fundamental needs. We all have 3 fundamental human needs that we're all born with. Every single one of us have these same 3 fundamental needs. And they are the needs, first, of safety. A fundamental need of physical safety, of emotional safety. Okay, now I'm going to use the pandemic. Right now, many people are worried about the sickness, but not only that, but the fallout from work because they can't provide as well. So you see this one is glaring right now, especially right now. And when we feel safe, we feel peace. When we don't, and we feel threatened, and we feel anxiety and stress and worry and anger and all these other feelings when the need of safety is not met. The second need that we all have is satisfaction. It's that Diet Dr. Pepper, right? That's right here. And it's the pleasure, the good things in life, the good life that Seligman talks about. Satisfaction, and it's other things like learning and growing and having a conference like this where we can have professional development. That's all that brings us satisfaction and knowledge and understanding, doing fun things. And the result is contentment. I feel content. Now, just taking those 2 alone, for example, our children going back to school, they're at school. Safety at first, we have the mask, it's that worry, we're distancing. So that need hopefully is met. Satisfaction. Why do my kids go to school? My kids go to school because they want to see their friends and to have fun. And that's actually the 3rd need. The 3rd need is connection. We're all born into this life with this longing for belonging, this craving for a connection with other people. And that's why that one is important. Now think about what the pandemic has done. The pandemic, and the result is love, is safety. We couldn't go out and do things. We couldn't even go, our friends couldn't play with each other. The connection was lost with other people. We were socially isolated and distanced. So you can see why fundamentally at a human development level, why it impacts people. So that's why I don't like the word social distancing. I'm more physical distancing, because we actually need social connection more than anything before. We need these 3 needs. So I'll come back to these 3 needs, and it's important to understand safety, satisfaction, and connection. So what are some barriers to positivity? Oh my goodness, all kinds of barriers you can experience even right now. You take a look at some of this, of sickness, of anxiety, of stress and resentment, and all this that's going on in our life. These are the primary barriers. And then you throw in a pandemic, you throw in racial injustice, you throw in fires, you throw in wind. We've had thousands of trees here in Utah last week blew over. We had an earthquake right near Salt Lake City. Tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding, all of this is coming as well during this. And so all kinds of barriers, perhaps ever before at any other time in history, like right now, 2020 is all these barriers to positivity. So what's another one? Another one is digital distraction. So I won't go too much on a soapbox here. I'm a big fan of cell phones and social media and all that, but it can be a distraction. It can be a distraction from our happiness. In fact, the research shows the more that we're on the devices, the less happy we are. So one time I was with the Schramm fam. I was speaking in San Diego, so I decided I'm going to take the Schramm fam. So we go out to dinner, 4 kids, and we're having a great time. And I look over and I see what appeared to be a father and a son eating their meal together. And I thought, oh, look how great that is, right? Just a little bit one-on-one bonding time. And then dessert comes, and then this is what I saw. So this was the picture. And so the dad, or the man, father figure, if he's the dad, was on his phone for the next, probably 8 minutes or so, 8 to 10 minutes. And not one word was spoken. And I thought, man, that's tough. because of that digital distraction is blocking the connection. That's the need right there. So they get up, the check comes, and now another couple comes and sits down in this Mexican restaurant we sat down in. And so this is the exact same seating, and they come down, and as soon as they sit down, what do? Immediately they jump on their phones. And so I'm a big fan of no phones in two areas, and that is tables and beds. So kicking technology out of tables and beds, because those two areas are two of the most important in my research, in my mind, for connection. So how important connection? So digital distractions, they can be a distraction for our happiness, the satisfaction, for the connection, and even safety, for sure. So Dr. Dave, all right, so we are, in our brains, we are wired for what? When you look out at the green lawn and you say the brown spot, you don't say, what a green lawn. You look and say, oh my goodness, there's a brown spot. We're actually wired to notice the negative. In fact, we're 5 times as likely to notice the negative and see mistakes. How many of you saw it, right? How many of you saw mistakes? I did that on purpose because we're wired, right, to focus on the negative. You hang up your holiday lights, your Christmas lights, and one bulb is out, boom. We're wired to notice that. Your child comes home with a report card. They have 5 A's and a C minus. Where does your brain go? C minus. It goes right to the negative. We go to the negative in our kids, in our partners, in our job, and people. We're wired to notice the negative. So we actually have to work harder to focus on and remember the positive. So, all right. So all of us experience all kinds of emotions. In fact, this 2020 has experienced probably the whole gamut of emotions that we've experienced. Now, with all the emotions that we experience all emotions in the present, but some emotions are anchored in the past or in the future. Now, notice which ones are anchored in the past. Isn't that amazing? That a lot of this, the grief, the anger, the regret. Now, I want to clarify something. That all of these are emotions, and they're okay to feel. It's okay to feel anger, to feel regret, to just feel disgusted. What's going on in the nation. All those things are fine to feel that. What happens? The danger happens when we set up camp in the past. When we set up camp in these emotions, it robs us of the present feelings of emotions. So yes, we may experience this hate or disgust in the present, but it's anchored about something that has already happened in the past. Okay, similar with the future ones. Take a look at some of those, the future, the stress, the worry, the fear. Fear is about something that hasn't happened yet. We can be afraid, right, at a spook alley or whatever in the moment, but most fear is about the future. Now, again, these are okay to feel worry, to feel stress occasionally. But again, what happens is when we set up camp in these, that's where we get into trouble. And it affects our heart, it affects our body, our immune system, our digestive system, when we spend too much time in both of those other camps. Now, take a look at those that are in the present. Look at this, joy and happiness and peace and calm. That's all experienced in the now, the right now. That's why I'm a huge fan of positivity and happiness, positive psychology, because it centers us into what's happening, the mindfulness of right now. Now, there are some in the past and in the future, optimism or appreciation about what's happened in the past, or anticipation for what's going to happen in the future. Now, again, so don't take me the wrong way. All of these are okay to feel. The emotions just are. But be careful of where you set up camp. In fact, my sister once said that it's okay to look in the rear view of life, the rear view mirror of life, but don't stare. Don't stare in the rear view mirror. You got to be looking forward outside of the windshield, and that's the future. That's the now and what's coming up. So that kind of sets the stage for some of this. I think I love this quote by Theodore Roosevelt. Comparison is the thief of joy. As soon as we get on and we start comparing our lives, our situations, we get on Facebook or Instagram, we start scrolling, and it's a constant comparison. So be careful with the comparisons, because it can rob us. It's like this happiness sponge of the joy that we're meant to feel. So where does happiness come from? I'm glad you asked. Now, about half of our happiness, or the difference in one person's happiness from another person's happiness, is genetic. It's inherited. So you can thank or curse your parents for about 50% of our happiness. Now, what about the other slices of the pie? Another 50%, where's that? Well, about 10% we know from the research is due to our circumstances. Now, that is everything from the job, from the work that you do, how much you make, from what kind of phone that you have right now, what kind of house, what kind of car you're driving, even who you're married to and your children, or only about 10% of that slice of happiness. So what about the other 40%? That's what I'm going to be focusing on for the rest of the presentation today, is these happy hacks. These are the intentions. These are the actions. These are things that you can actually do something about, that you have control over. You don't have much control of your genetics. You have a little bit of control over, your money, your finance situation, but not a whole lot. But you do have a lot more about your thoughts and your actions. So that's where we're going to center. And that what should be the focus of the foundation of that positivity pyramid that we talked about earlier. So I'll share some. So what I create, I actually put this into a bookmark, and I'm happy to, send this to other states. And heck, you guys put your, your extension or whatever, put your logo down there. I don't care. So it's not, copy. That's what we do in extension, is we share resources. So I put up, I won't talk about all 10 today, but these happy hacks on a bookmark. I'll give you my email toward the end. Send me an email and we'll work something out, and I'll ship them to you, or you can put your own stuff down there. Go. So this is me on Bear Lake Beach. I wish you were here. That was just me the other day, running on the beach. You don't believe me. Okay, now it's me, right? Now it's me running out on the beach, having a good time. Now, why 21 days? You say, oh, Dr. Dave, because that's 21 days. That's how long it takes to build a habit. Okay, but what's the science behind 21 days? That's where I took a look. Research shows that most of the cells in the human body are regenerating about every 21 days. The tongue, some of the fastest, femur, some of the slowest. So when you take a new habit and you try something, that's why it's 21 days, because you're literally a different person today than you were 21 days ago at the cellular level. Like nothing's the same, right? Your skin, your hair, everything continually changes. So if you want to be more grateful, you actually make that a part of who you are at the cellular level. That's why it's 21 days. So pretty cool. All right, so gratitude, that happens to be the first one. The research on this area has really exploded. This one does everything from reduce thoughts about suicide to you're more likely to engage in healthy activities. It reduces aches and pains. It's like an aspirin and Tylenol. So the area, this gratitude is just really dang good for you. It's super good for you. So you've heard of gratitude journals. I'm going to share one of my favorite apps is actually the 5-minute journal app. So I don't own stock in it, right? So I'm not selling it. It's $4.99. So it may be a little bit pricey for an app, but it lasts forever. I've been doing it for 2.5 years. And then in the morning, a little prompt comes up and it says, start the day with gratitude. What are 3 things that you're grateful for? Now, if you do that, you start that even for a few days, and it has to be something different that you're grateful for. And it has to be very specific. You can't say, I'm grateful for Zoom, and I'm grateful for my, my dog. No, you have to be very, very specific in the things that you're grateful for. And then what it does is it trains the brain, it starts to rewire the brain to look for the good and the things that you're grateful for. So that one is powerful. In fact, if you like TED Talks, I'm going to mention some of my faves here. This one is probably my all-time favorite on gratitude. So David Steindl-Rast talks about great gratitude, and he says this. He says, in daily life, we must see that it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratefulness that makes us happy. Then he goes on, he says, gratefulness is the key to a happy life that we hold in our hands, because if we are not grateful, then no matter how much we have, we will not be happy, because we will always want to have something else or something more. Holy smokes. Isn't that like Instagram story worthy or what? That's a good one, right? It's gratitude first. The happiest people I know are grateful people. So yeah, post that take a picture and put on your Facebook. That's a good quote. And it's an even more amazing talk. So put that one on your list, jot that one down. You got to go listen to that one. So gratitude. All right. Everyone, no matter where you're at, even if your camera's not on, I want you to smile. Everybody just smile. Okay, big old smile. Okay, all right. Oh, I can't see anybody, but I'm assuming that most of those are fake. Yeah, Rox, that's a real smile, right? That is very, isn't that a beautiful smile too, Roxy? That's a real smile. A real smile does so much for our bodies, and actually, right, produces that dopamine stuff. It turns on all the learning centers in the brain. So start it with a smile. So what's the 10-5 rule? So the 10-5 rule is simply this. When you're within 10 feet of somebody, you smile. And when you're within 5 feet, you say hello. So just practice that. Practice that in your office. Practice that when you're walking, when you're getting on an elevator and you're doing I've been there, and you're like, pretend like you're on your phone and you're checking that. Nah, you're not. Smile. Now you can't, right? Don't overdo it, because then you're creepy. You're like, hey, how you doing? Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah, that's scary. But smiling is really good. So I'm going to show you a picture now, and if I could see your faces, I would think I could guess the reaction. So here's the picture. Okay, now as soon as you see that picture, what happens? We tend to smile, right? When we see that, we're like, oh, and collectively we're probably like, oh, if we were in face-to-face, that's what the reaction will be. Now, not all smiles are created equal. What happens when I show you this one, Roxy? Okay, that was that was a little bit different, right? That was a little bit creepy. Get that one out of there. So that one's a little bit different. But smiling is so important, and it's really, really powerful. Now, think about how often do you smile? Think about, in fact, you could even put in there, how many of you think that you smile at least 20 times per day? 20 times per day. Put it in there. I want to see. How many of you think that you smile at least 20 times per day? Yeah, okay, for many of you. Okay, now it may surprise you, and in someone, yeah, you do have to be careful with all of these with culture. Okay, so culture, yeah, it probably would not be very beneficial if you're like, hey, big old smile to somebody. So you have to definitely read the culture. 25 to 30, yes, awesome. Okay, now research shows that about 14% of us smile less than 5 times per day. That to me is really sad. 14% of adults smile less than 5 times per day. All right, put a guess in there. How many times do children smile per day? Put it in there. How many times do you think children smile per day? If a third of adults smile 20 times per day, how many times? Okay, 200, 300? Constantly, yes. They're all over the place. Yeah, 100. Okay. One study showed that children smile as many as 400 times per day. 400 times per day. Wow. Now, what's the number one crusher of kids' happiness? Okay. You are, parents are. If we're parents, right? Adults, they're the crusher of kids' happiness. Teachers are. They'd be smiling all the time. Yeah, children are smiling. Now, I get it. Well, that one child on the far end is not smiling. He didn't get the memo or something. Maybe he's having a bad day. Now, we're not meant to smile all the time. Okay, and that's not what I'm saying. We're just walking around with like this fake smile. But research shows that people look more attractive when you smile, right? Is it working? Yeah. So smile more. When you see people, smile. Start with a smile. And research is showing that what it does is it triggers the reward center in the brain. And it actually does. It releases dopamine. In fact, in one study, it showed that, in a British study, it showed that one smile can produce as much dopamine as much as 2,000 bars of chocolate. It's like, holy smokes, 2,000, and you don't get all the calories. So just walk around, smiling appropriately. Okay. So yes, the 2,000 bars of chocolate. So here's another one, and we all know this one. I'm preaching to the choir: exercise, diet, and sleep. Now those three alone could change and do change happiness. Like, for example, exercising, it reduces anxiety by as much as 20% in some studies. In some studies, it shows that it's even better than an antidepressant for exercise in some studies. So exercising, the diet, sleep, getting your 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Just read a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. If you want a great book, that one is excellent. So those three, I think we get, we understand. Yeah, those are truly important. All right, here's a homework assignment, and I mean this for real. Tonight, before even the sessions tomorrow, this is your homework. Right, Dr. Dave, I got to give you homework as a professor. Check out this website and take some time to fill out. It's free. So viacharacter.org. So this is the one by Martin Seligman. So it's research-based, science-backed. It's been done by hundreds of thousands of people. And it will kick out your signature strengths. Now it'll kick out your top five signature strengths. And what I want you to do is I want you to print those out. You can copy and paste them into a Word document. And I did that in mine right here on my computer screen at the bottom. I taped them on there. And so literally, I focus on my strengths every single day. I focus on the things that I'm good at. And that's where we have to change, because we're born with 5 times as many brain cells that are wired for negativity and threat for every 1 brain cell that is wired for positivity and opportunity. So we already know our weaknesses. We know where we struggle. So focus on your strengths. Do it. There's a child like a teenager version as well. But I'm telling you, I do this with my students. You need to know and focus on your strengths. So that's a homework assignment. All right, start your day in a positive way. Where are the morning people? Where are the morning people? Any morning people on this Zoom? No, oh my goodness, Cindy, we're kicking. All right, if you'll just kick everyone off that says that they are from this Zoom. No, I'm teasing. We still like you sometimes. But morning people, yeah, I'm not, but so this is me in the morning. Well, okay, now it's me in the morning, right? Starting your day in a positive way. This is so critical, and I'll tell you why. So the research behind this shows that in one study, those who started their day by watching 3 minutes of negative news were 27% more likely at the end of their day to rate their day as a bad day. This is 6 to 8 hours later by starting their day with 3 minutes of negative news. And you turn on the news right now and it feels like it's all negative right now. So much craziness going on. So start your day instead in a positive way. Now that can be journaling. It can be, meditation or yoga or exercise or prayer or whatever you do, reading, start it in a positive way. And it really does set the tone for the rest of the day. Whatever your brain's exposed to, right? In the first few minutes, if you get on and you're scrolling through Facebook the first few minutes, and then you're kind of wired to all that, or whatever song you first listened to, have you ever noticed that? That's kind of in your brain because your brain has been cleansed during the night. It's more open to influence. Start your day in a positive way and it will go a lot better. Your entire day. Yeah, morning pages. Oh, that's good. There's all kinds of like apps and things that you can do. But try different things to start your day in a positive way. And then that's how I woke up this morning, right? In that shirt. No, that's not. I did wake up actually with a dog in our bed. Our Yorkie, our 5-pound Yorkie sleeps with me. That's not a good habit. Okay, finding flow. Finding flow. So this concept of flow is not about milking cows. Well, it could be. But flow is that concept by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who said, you find something where you're using your strengths and you almost lose track of time because you're so immersed in that task. You're using all of your attention and your strength, your energy, maybe stretching you a little bit. So for example, right, could be playing the piano, it could be reading a book, it could be at work and you're on a project and you just go into the zone. Athletes call it getting into the zone. They just almost lose track of time or anything. Or you can't even hear the crowd because they're so immersed in it. So again, Csikszentmihalyi, he said, it's a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. And then he says, the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. I really love that. And so it's kind of stretching us a little bit. It's using our gifts, our talents, our strengths in a positive way to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. So flow, that is a great way for happiness. All right, yeah, everyone get into the meditation pose. So meditation, mindfulness, we know this from the research that it's very positive. In fact, you can actually increase the thickness of the gray matter in your brain. I repeat, you can increase the thickness of the gray matter in your brain. You want gray matter. Gray matter is more about focus and attention. If you find like, man, I'm all over the place, meditation helps you and it actually can thicken that gray matter. So it's very, very positive. Meditation. Try it. Even mindfulness. There's a reason that Google does this. It's just like a 1 or 2 minute hack. They have everyone close their eyes, take their hands off of their keyboard, and then just pay attention to their breathing for 1 minute, and it just resets them. So even try that, right? On our watches, it says, take time to breathe. That's why all of that is, because it's really helpful. All right, now here's the big test. I've been testing you at the Zoom test. All right, now 47% of the time, research is showing when you're engaged in a task, you're thinking about something other than what you're doing. So, and I know, I won't even, if I were face to face, I would ask you, how many of you have been thinking about something other than what I've been talking about? I'd be like, I know, not even 47%. It's like everybody has on Zoom, because it's hard. It's hard to pay attention on Zooms. But here's the research showing this. And it ranges from grooming and self-care, 67% of the time, you know, for those of us who took a shower this morning, you're probably not thinking like, oh yeah, this armpit is really clean. And oh man, this one needs a little work. Or you probably weren't doing that. If we go on auto mode and we start thinking about something other than taking a shower. Commuting, have you ever driven home and you're like, holy smokes, you get home, you have no idea. You don't remember anything because your car just went. We go on autopilot a lot. Doing housework, working. Oh my goodness, you slackers out there. I'm working. You're not working. About half the time, you're thinking about something other than what you're actually doing. Taking care of your kiddos. How many? Guilty. I'm guilty as well. How many of you have that experience? Your child comes up and says, hey, mom, or dad, look. And you sit there and listen for it. Oh, that's great, honey. You have no idea what they just said, right? How many of you are guilty? I am. Reading, eating, exercising, talking. When you're talking to someone and you're just kind of listening and you're nodding your head and you're thinking about something else 32% of the time. And yeah, that one on the end, don't ask, I don't know what's going on with that one. Making love. Okay, what about Zoom? What is it? I just made this one up, but I'm assuming it's about 98% of you are like, oh man, oh yeah. So, and I get it. So it's really hard to be engaging and interactive on this, but I thought I would do the little test, the mind wandering. So mindfulness and meditation helps us to focus. So we're not mind wandering so much in our lives. So if you find yourself mind wandering, try mindfulness and meditation. Try that hack. All right, here's one of my favorites, RACS. So this is random acts of kindness. Now this one will improve happiness about as fast as anything that I know. In fact, Martin Seligman, he says that doing a kind act produces the single most reliable momentary increase in well-being of any exercise that they've tested. So it's kindness and gratitude. So those are some of the strongest. And it makes sense because I see them as two sides of the same coin. When someone is kind, hopefully that we're grateful for that. So those two, kindness and gratitude, go together. So really quick, okay, we're gonna actually practice it right now. Are you ready? So pick up your phones if you have a phone nearby, or maybe, I don't know if you're on your phone on the Zoom, but I want you to, don't do it yet, but I want you to send a text to somebody, or it could be an email, a text or an email to someone that really needs it. And it could be a text of gratitude, you know, appreciation, of love, but make it very specific. You could be like, hey, I'm on this boring Zoom conference with Dr. Dave, and he told me I had to send you the, no, don't do that. But it could be a child, it could be a partner, it could be anyone. Think of, but if you'll just ask yourself, who needs a text from me right now? There will be a name or a face will come into your mind. So try it, like legit, really do try it. I'm gonna actually give you about 30 seconds to do it. So for 30 seconds, just get on there and say, all right, who needs one? And then get on and send them a sincere text of appreciation and gratitude. So do it, give you 30 seconds. Try it right now. Carla, I love it. Says, hey, I like your hair. Simple little thing. Okay, so as you're winding up that text, here's the challenge. And I really want you to take this challenge, okay? I'm giving you lots of challenges, but these are all science-backed things. This one is, it's called text 2 before 10, okay? Text 2 before 10 is simple. Text 2 people before 10 a.m. Try it. Try it for 3 days. Try it for 7 days. If you're like a go-getter, you'll be hooked if you even try it for 3 days. A guarantee, right? It's addicting. Try texting 2 people before 10 a.m. Just jot that down and even put it in your phone. It's helpful if you have a reminder that comes on like at 9 a.m. Just put a reminder and put in text 2 before 10 and try it on your phone. And you're going to be amazed. You're going to be amazed because you'll get texts back from people, especially maybe, I haven't heard from this person. And, you might go out to lunch, be like, hey, it's been a while. Let's get together and how you been? And just check it in and just thinking about you. Do that. Yes. Oh, see, you just texted my mom. She's traveling right now. Sent some love for her safe travels. It's that. And how long did that take? Again, 30 seconds, 1 minute of our day. We can do that. We can get into the habit of doing that because who does it affect? It affects the texter. And affects the texted. It affects those who receive it, the giver, and anyone that hears about it. So do that. It's one of the smallest, simplest ways you can improve happiness. I promise you, try this one and it will work. Now, some of you might get a text back. Some of you might get a text back here in the next minute or so. And it's like, are you okay? Right? Are you feeling okay? They may worry about you like, okay, you're not going to do anything stupid, are you? Because the text may be out of the blue and it's like, oh man, are you okay? But that's okay. But get into the habit of doing that. Yeah, someone said, everything okay? So do that. All right, the next happy hack. I love that one. Yeah, by the way. And you can put in the chat. If someone texts back, I kind of want to see what people are getting into. And others will probably be interested to hear what you did and the response. So drop grudges. This was a big one. Dropping grudges, letting things go. This is one of the biggest obstacles to happiness is in a grudge. Where's a grudge? Is a grudge in the present, the future? A grudge is in the past. A grudge is something that has happened that we're holding on to. So Nelson Mandela, great hero, he said, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. I'd still be in prison, that emotional prison that just hijacked his soul. And so he had to learn to let things go, to move on, to forgive. It may not necessarily mean forget, that sometimes that memory is good. So I know what happened, but to forgive, that's a gift, because holding on to that grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It just doesn't work. It's not healthy for us. Okay, here it is, staying alive. So what predicts staying alive these days? So this is a meta-analysis done by a professor at BYU. And now look at some of these. Clean air. Now, this was not done in California and the fires in Oregon and all that. I have a sister in Oregon and it's just awful. So this is overall outside of the fires. Clean air, hypertension treatment, being lean versus overweight. Wow. Exercise. Now, exercise has actually been shown to be further down in more recent studies. It's a stronger predictor. Cardiac rehab, the flu vaccine. Oh, and heck, no, we don't know about even the next vaccines that's supposed to be coming out for Corona, right? Quitting drinking, quitting smoking. All right, so here we are down. Look at these strong predictors of how long and how well we'll live. What are the top two? What are the top two? So drum roll here. Number 2, close relationships. So what is, someone worked in cardiac rehab for 22 years. Yeah, it is, right? Cardiac rehab is a strong predictor. Close relationships. So what's the number 1 predictor of how long and how well you'll live? Quitting Fortnite. Quitting Fortnite is actually the number 1 predict. No, okay, it's not. But you can take a picture of the slide and then show it to your teenager and be like, science, research is showing. Okay, no, it's actually not Fortnite. Yeah, but some people, parents wish it was. So take a picture of that one. It's actually social integration. It's this. Well, virtually this. It would have been this. It's Snowbird. It's the interaction. Because remember our 3 needs: safety, satisfaction, and connection. Safety, satisfaction, and connection. So those are the 3 needs that we have. But look at that. Look how they relate to that. Flu vaccine, quitting smoking, drinking. Look at that. Those are the predictors that help us to live. And the top 2, so the difference in social integration is that really where we spend the other 8 hours, maybe that's at work or at the post office, or grocery store, This is your religious, affiliation or congregation, those people. So those are more the friends, whereas close relationships in this study was more family relationships. So they're just a little bit off, probably not statistically significantly different. But those two, social integration and close relationships, very powerful predictors of not only happiness, but how long we'll live. All right, cherishing your friends. So this is a picture. This was done on purpose. So this is our living room and some nieces and nephews and some of our kids and grandmas here. So this is what you're not supposed to do is cherish your friends through text. But it's true that loneliness, this connection that we have with other people, loneliness raises blood pressure to the point where the risk of heart attack and stroke is doubled. In fact, in Britain, so they actually appointed a prime minister for loneliness. I'm not joking. I'm not making that up. You can Google that. A minister of loneliness, because of the loneliness pandemic. Now, COVID has even done that, has exacerbated that. You look at care centers, for example, those who are still just isolated. So connection, social integration is huge for us. Dean Ornish, he says he knows of no other factor, not diet, smoking, exercise, stress, genetics, surgery, that has such a major impact on the quality of our life and premature death from all causes. So it is cherishing your friends. Okay, here are some of Dave's faves that I'll leave you with. Some of you are like, oh man, this, I like this stuff. Yeah, good. Jessica, how are you? I'm taking a picture of these books. So these are some of my all-time favorite books in positivity, in gratitude, in happiness. The Upward Spiral. Now, this is my favorite book on depression and anxiety because it's not very thick. I buy it by the dozens and I just give it away. I actually give it away to students and people that I come in contact with because it's all these hacks. It's simple little things that are research-based. Alex Korb, a neuroscientist in California, has written. It's super good. And so, I mean, get it, read it, give it away. And then Blinkist. Blinkist is one of my favorite apps because Blinkist takes these books and thousands of others and it reduces them down to 15 minutes. So some of you, if you're traveling to work, I can listen to one Blinkist version of a book on the way to work and another one on the way back. I get on my elliptical for 20 minutes and I can listen to one. It's awesome because if you're not sure if you want to buy the book or if you're on Audible and you're like, oh man, this is so long and I lose track of where I'm at because I stop and start, this gives you the condensed version of it, 15-minute version. So I'm a big fan. All right, so here are some apps, some suggested ones, as well as you want to take a picture of this screenshot this. A lot of these are science-backed. You see the Calm, the 5-minute journal that I mentioned earlier, the Live Happy Now. So a lot of these podcasts take the best researchers out there and they're talking about, optimism and positivity and gratitude and kindness and all these other areas of positivity and happiness and well-being. So I'll pause right now because I want to get back. So I'm almost done, but I'm very interested in the chat to see what kind of responses, to see what you did, like who you text, if you're willing to share or whatever, and how it went, like any kind of a response or anything. Oh, you took a picture right when your 13-year-old walked in at the Fortnite. That's awesome. That's great. So any experiences with this so far? I'd love to see them in the chat before we wrap up. Oh yeah, happy not perfect. So yeah, some people saying as far as some of the science of happiness, happy not perfect, better than happy, and there's lots. So I'm not trying not to advertise for certain ones. These are just happens to be ones that I've listened to, and there's lots of others. If you have others, feel free to put them up there as well. Child colleagues, volunteers, future daughter-in-law. See, Jessica, yeah, texting your mom. And she says, how sweet. But do you see the spiral that does? That's why I love random acts of kindness. Coworker's birthday yesterday, text her message. It's just remembering to be thoughtful. And so really the principle is this. We remember what we rehearse. We remember what we review. And if you're rehearsing and you're focusing on, you're remembering the positive, the good, you're celebrating the good, along with managing the difficulties and the stresses and the bads. But that's the principle. We remember what we review. For example, how many of you remember every single name, first and last name of those in your yearbook? If you were to get out your yearbook and you cover it up, first and last name of everyone in your yearbook, you probably wouldn't do it because you're not remembering and rehearsing it unless you know them on Facebook or something. So that's the principle, is remember the good, focus on the good. We need to get good at taking in the good. And that's really what I'm talking about here today. So as I wrap up today, let me share, and this is a real story, really true experience here. How many of you have ever had that experience where you can't get your children to bed fast enough? It's been one of those stressful days. You're like, okay, have dinner, tubby time, brush teeth. They come out and they need a drink or another book. You're like, okay, stay in your beds. Stay in your beds, dang it. And you get so stressed out. That was me. I've had those days, and I had a particularly rough day. I was at Missouri, came home, and I'm like, stay in your beds. And I'm starting to lose it with my kids. And then I marched back to my room after just kind of getting after him. Less than 5 minutes later, our 8-year-old, our oldest, I heard some footsteps come down the hallway. And then I heard a noise at the door, and I barked. I said, get back to your room. And our daughter just races back down the room. And I open the door, and there's a note. There's a note from our 8-year-old daughter. Now, and this is a picture of the actual note. And this is what she said. This is kind of my concluding wrap-up message for you. She said, thanks a lot. I know it can be hard being a mom or dad, but you got to stick with it. And I think, oh my goodness, right here's Dr. Dave of 10 years of school, and I'm the parenting expert, and I never lose it with my kids. Baloney, we all do. None of us are perfect in this thing. And that's the message the challenge said, is we got to stick with it. We've got to stick with it. Now, do you see on the side, it says, look on back. So I take that note and I look on the back, and it says, don't worry, we still love you. And I think, oh my gosh, so grateful that the children are so forgiving. So really my point today is to start at the bottom in our lives, in that parenting, that positivity pyramid. We start with the bottom, a positive, happy, flourishing person, that we live in the present. Yeah, we can go to the past and be upset and angry. Yeah, we can be stressed out. Don't set up camp there. That the positivity spills over. If you remember, it's positivity and then connection, direction, correction with those in our lives. So I know that if you'll try some of these simple little happy hacks, put them into your life, put them into practice, and it will spill over into your work, into your home life, and every other aspect of your life. But we have to start with the foundation. I hope some of this has been helpful. I hope that you'll do the strengths test, that you'll do the text 2 before 10, that the gratitude app, that I'm giving you some things that can be helpful in your lives. And so I wish we were together. I'll give you a big old virtual hug, but thank you. I look forward, and I hope that you look forward to the rest of the presentations, because it's going to be amazing. Roxy, I love it. I'll turn it back over to you. Got the, I'm going to put mine on as well. Yes, it is. It's a great time, right? It is happy time.
Happy times. Happy times. The only thing is, it is hard to breathe. I want to get one just like yours. All I can say, Dr. Schramm, is just wow. I've made note after note after note. I've already downloaded the Blinkist. It's amazing. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter if you see this in the chat or not. I can promise you this was spot on for our membership right now. Honestly, I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything more, honest to goodness. Thank you so kindly. The physical distancing instead of social distancing, our membership, I guarantee you, they're going to take that and they're going to tell that to their communities, because they know the harm that is being done by no communication and by distancing, honestly, socially. You can be social and stay away from people. That's not the problem. So the other one that I wrote down was focusing on your strength. And I am going definitely to the viacharacter.org. Everybody, you've got homework. Now we have to do what we're told. And the text 2 before 10 was wonderful. Now the 10 and 5 rule. So you smile at 10 feet and you start saying hello at 5. these individuals here would probably tell you Roxy's is more like a 2010. I start smiling, you know, at 20 feet and probably start hollering, hey, y'all, at about 10. So I can't thank you enough. I am just tickled. Thank you so much. And I hope our paths cross again.
Yeah, thank you. And those who, if they like the notes, I'm happy to send the entire presentation. Send me an email and I'm happy to share anything that I have. Thanks for having me.
We would love it. And that is another thing you said about sharing resources. We appreciate that from Utah. We want to share resources right now across the whole state more than ever. So thank you for reiterating that fact. And you take care.